How rich is the richest person you can think of today? A few $100 billion. Right? Now, imagine someone so wealthy that their fortune, adjusted for inflation, would dwarf that. Someone whose name became synonymous with money itself. Today, we're talking about John D. Rockefeller, America's first confirmed billionaire, and arguably the richest person in modern history. But this isn't just a story about money. It's a story of ruthless ambition, groundbreaking strategy, and a legacy that's as controversial as it is monumental. How did a bookkeeper's son build an empire that controlled 90% of America's oil? And what can his incredible story teach us today? Rockefeller's journey began with humble roots. Born in 1839 in rural New York, his father was a traveling salesman and a con artist who taught his sons that business was a game of survival. His mother, a devout Baptist, instilled in him the values of hard work, discipline, and thrift. From a young age, John D. was obsessed with numbers and making every penny count. He famously kept a detailed ledger, tracking every cent he earned and spent. He raised turkeys, sold potatoes, and lent small sums to neighbors, always with interest. This wasn't just a kid's hobby. It was the foundation of a financial empire. He learned early on that money could work for him, a lesson that would define his entire life. At 16, he dropped out of high school and took a bookkeeping course. His first real job was as an assistant bookkeeper in Cleveland, Ohio. He treated the company's money with more care than he treated his own, meticulously auditing every transaction. But he wasn't content to just count other people's money. He saw opportunity everywhere. In 1859, the first American oil well was drilled in Pennsylvania, sparking an oil rush. While others scrambled to drill for black gold, Rockefeller noticed something different. The real money wasn't in the risky gamble of finding oil. It was in refining it. Drilling was a lottery, but refining was a necessity. Everyone who struck oil needed someone to turn that crude sludge into usable kerosene for lamps. This insight was his first stroke of genius. At just 24, with a partner, he invested in his first oil refinery in Cleveland. Why Cleveland? Because it was a transportation hub connected by railways and waterways, allowing him to ship his refined product cheaply and efficiently. While his competitors built flimsy, cheap refineries, Rockefeller focused on quality, efficiency, and scale. He reinvested every penny of profit back into the business, improving his technology, cutting waste, and driving down his costs. He found uses for byproducts that other refiners were just throwing away, turning gasoline, paraffin wax, and petroleum jelly into new revenue streams. He was obsessed with making his operation the most efficient in the world. This obsession led to the creation of his legendary company, Standard Oil. Founded in 1870, its mission was simple: bring order to the chaotic and volatile oil industry. And Rockefeller's method for bringing order was brutal and effective. He began by offering to buy out his competitors in Cleveland. He'd show them his books, demonstrating how his efficient operations were impossible to compete with. He gave them a choice: sell to him for a fair price in cash or Standard Oil stock, or be most sold. This strategy became known as the Cleveland Massacre, and in just a few weeks, he controlled nearly all of the city's refining capacity. But that was just the beginning. Rockefeller knew that the key to ultimate control was transportation. He approached the railroads and made a deal they couldn't refuse. In exchange for guaranteeing massive, consistent shipments of oil, he demanded secret discounts or rebates. This was his master stroke. Not only did it lower his own shipping costs, but the railroads also agreed to charge his competitors higher rates and even pay a portion of that extra charge back to Standard Oil. His competitors were now paying a tax that went directly into Rockefeller's pocket. It was a vicious, brilliant, and completely legal strategy at the time. With this weapon, he could undercut any rival in any market. One by one, refineries across the nation either sold out to Standard Oil or went bankrupt. By the 1880s, Standard Oil was no longer just a company. It was a trust. A new and complex corporate structure Rockefeller pioneered to manage his sprawling empire. It controlled an estimated 90% of the oil refining, marketing, and transportation in the United States. It was the world's first and largest multinational corporation, a monopoly of unprecedented scale and power. Rockefeller had achieved his goal of order, but it came at a price. The public and the press began to view him as a ruthless, a robber baron who crushed competition and manipulated markets for his own gain. The journalist Ida Tarbell, whose own father's oil business was ruined by Standard Oil, wrote a scathing expose that turned public opinion firmly against him. The backlash was immense. The government, armed with new antitrust laws, came after him. The decades-long legal battle culminated in 1911 when the Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil was an illegal monopoly and ordered it to be broken up into 34 separate companies. It seemed like the end of an empire, but for Rockefeller, it was the greatest payday of his life. He retained his shares in all of the newly independent companies. And as the age of the automobile dawned, the demand for gasoline sent the value of these companies like Exxon, Mobil, and Chevron's. The breakup, meant to destroy his wealth, ended up multiplying it exponentially. Rockefeller became the world's first confirmed billionaire. At its peak, his fortune was estimated to be nearly 2% of the entire U.S. economy. In today's terms, that would be over $400 billion. Having conquered the world of business, Rockefeller turned his attention to a new challenge in the second half of his life, giving his fortune away. Applying the same methodical efficiency he used to build his empire, he pioneered the field of modern, strategic philanthropy. He didn't just write checks. He created foundations designed to tackle the root causes of problems. He funded the University of Chicago, turning it into a world-class institution. He established the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, which led to breakthroughs that eradicated diseases like hookworm and yellow fever, saving millions of lives. He poured hundreds of millions into education, science, and public health, creating a philanthropic model that is still used today by figures like Bill Gates. John D. Rockefeller lived to be 97, leaving behind a dual legacy that we still grapple with. Was he a visionary captain of industry who built a modern corporation and fueled America's growth? Or was he a predatory monopolist who suffocated competition and bent the economy to his will? The truth is, he was both. He was a product of his time, an era of unregulated capitalism where the lines between ambition and greed were blurry. His story is a powerful reminder that the path to incredible success is often complex and controversial. It forces us to ask big questions about wealth, power, and responsibility. What do you think? Was Rockefeller a hero or a villain? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures.